The day my father died, I learned grief has a sound, the hollow click of a house key that no longer belongs to anyone. My name is Rachel Moore, 34, accountant, good with numbers, terrible with endings. I flew back to Denver the same afternoon and walked straight into the home where I learned to balance a checkbook on a cereal box. The oxygen tank was gone, the recliner was still warm, the silence felt audited. Amanda, my older sister, 39, met me at the doorway like a gatekeeper with perfect hair. Chris, our youngest at 31, hovered behind her, sunglasses on inside like a man in a hangover. Linda, our stepmother, moved through the kitchen with soft steps and a dish towel clutched like prayer beads. We looked like a family if you squinted. "I'll handle the paperwork," Amanda said, the way some people say good morning. "You should rest, Rach." "I can help," I replied, setting my suitcase by the staircase we used to slide down on blankets. Dad's files are color-coded. I did most of it with him. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "You've been busy." Busy. The kind word for living across town and not living inside this house of slow goodbyes. I swallowed the sting and nodded. Numbers don't argue with feelings, they just sit there, true, whether you like them or not. That night, I slept in my old room under a poster of the Rockies that had faded to a polite blue. Grief kept turning the doorknob. Around midnight, I got up for water and stood in the dark hallway listening. Voices drifted from Dad's office, low, confident, the kind you use when you think truth is on your side. "We'll handle the will," Amanda said, crisp as a ledger line. Chris muttered, "Rachel doesn't need to know everything. She wasn't here." Silence, then Linda's whisper, "Let's keep this peaceful. Your father didn't want fights." Paper rustled. A drawer slid shut. The old brass lamp clicked off. I stood in the hall with my glass cold in my hand and felt something inside me tip, like a scale redistributing weight. I wasn't invited into the conversation about my father's last wishes. I wasn't even expected to ask. Morning brought sunlight and manners. Amanda poured coffee into the mug Dad always used for playoff games and set it in front of me like a prop. "There's a meeting with Mr. Harlow, Dad's attorney, on Friday," she said. "He'll walk us through everything." "All of us?" I asked. "Of course," she said too quickly. "It's standard." Chris stared at his phone. Linda refolded a dry towel. I watched steam rise from the cup and remembered Dad's hand over mine teaching me to reconcile bank statements. Circle what's cleared, note what's pending, never forget what's outstanding. Grief is outstanding, I thought. So is suspicion. After breakfast, I wandered into Dad's office. The air still smelled like pencil shavings and wintergreen gum. His desk was neat. The drawer that used to stick slid open smoothly, too smoothly. Inside, the blue folder labeled Estate was gone. In its place sat a single envelope with my name written in my father's unsteady block letters. I didn't open it right away. I stood at the window and looked at the cottonwood tree he'd planted when I got my first job. Numbers help when life doesn't. Count to 10, breathe on 4, open on 1. I broke the seal. A photo slipped out first. Dad and me at the lake house, both sunburned, both laughing. Beneath it, one line in his handwriting: "Keep what keeps you honest." That's when I knew the meeting on Friday wouldn't be simple, and neither would I. Funerals have a way of drawing lines no one admits exist. By Friday morning, the air in Mr. Harlow's law office felt thick with perfume, starch, and unspoken calculations. The oak-paneled conference room had a table long enough to seat 12, but only 4 chairs were filled. Amanda at the head like she'd earned it. Chris slouched to her right, Linda smoothing her skirt at the far end. I took the chair left for me near the corner, close to the ficus plant, like I was an afterthought. Mr. Harlow adjusted his glasses and opened a leather binder. "Your father's will is straightforward," he began, tone crisp. "Assets include the primary residence, the lake house, and retirement accounts. He expressed a desire for equal division." Amanda cleared her throat sharply. "Mr. Harlow, before you continue, we'd like to add context. Dad was very clear about Rachel not being around during his final months. It's only fair the distribution reflect effort." Effort. The word snapped against my skin. "Are you saying I don't deserve my share because I have a job?" My voice cut sharper than I expected. Chris leaned forward, lips curling. "You weren't here, Rach. Amanda and I were. Night shifts, hospital runs, doctor updates, while you were crunching numbers in an office across town. Who paid for the oxygen tanks when insurance lagged? We did. I stared at him. With whose money? Dad's, not yours. Linda chimed in, soft but pointed. Your father often wished you had been more present, Rachel. It broke his heart to see you distant. My chest burned. Distant? I called every night. I drove up every weekend I wasn't buried in audits. I balanced his bills when neither of you knew the difference between gross and net. My hand clenched on the table. Don't rewrite history. Amanda folded her hands like a judge. We're not rewriting anything. We're protecting Dad's legacy, and frankly, it doesn't sit right for you to claim equal footing when you didn't carry the same weight. The room blurred for a moment, fury sharpening my focus. I looked at Mr. Harlow. What exactly does the will say? He hesitated, eyes flicking between Amanda's cool stare and my fire. Legally, the division is equal among the 3 children. Amanda's nails tapped against her notepad. But there's room for interpretation, isn't there? Dad trusted us to manage responsibly. Interpretation? I shot back. Dad was an accountant's son. He didn't deal in interpretations, he dealt in numbers. Chris muttered, Here she goes again, Miss Calculator. The words stung more than I wanted to admit. Numbers were my refuge, not my cage. You want to reduce my life to spreadsheets? Fine, let's run the math. 17 years of me paying my own bills, covering Dad's co-pays when Amanda was between jobs, buying groceries when Chris's credit cards bounced. Don't tell me I wasn't present. Amanda's smile tightened, icy. Rachel, you're being emotional. This isn't the place. This is exactly the place, I snapped. Dad raised us to tell the truth in front of witnesses. Linda's voice shook now. Stop this. You're tearing what's left of the family apart. Family. The word landed like a stone in my gut. What family? The one that whispered behind closed doors, planning to erase me? Or the one in Dad's letter telling me to keep what keeps you honest? I pressed the envelope inside my purse, feeling the paper like armor. Mr. Harlow cleared his throat again, uneasy. We can adjourn until emotions settle. No, Amanda interrupted. We're moving forward. Rachel can accept a smaller portion, maybe just the lake house, in recognition of her distance. Chris and I will manage the rest. It's fair. Fair. The scale inside me tipped again, but this time it clanged hard. My voice came low, steady. If you think I'll stand by while you cut me out of Dad's will, you've mistaken silence for weakness? Chris snorted. What are you going to do, Rachel? Sue your own blood? I met his eyes. If that's what it takes. The room went still, the kind of silence that hums like an electrical wire. For the first time, Amanda's composure slipped. She shifted in her chair, recalculating. I had drawn my line. The betrayal wasn't whispered anymore. It was out loud, sharpened, undeniable. And in that instant, I knew I wasn't just fighting for property. I was fighting for Dad's truth, for my place in it, and for the part of me they thought they could erase. By Saturday morning, the betrayal had spread faster than wildfire in dry grass. My phone buzzed before I even poured coffee. Family group chat. We all know Rachel only cares about the money. That was Amanda's message, followed by a string of thumbs-up emojis from cousins I hadn't seen since high school. Chris chimed in next. She wasn't even there when Dad took his last breath. How can she claim equal rights? I stared at the screen, heat rising in my throat. Each new ping felt like another brick in a wall closing me off. Aunt Denise added, Sweetie, maybe let Amanda handle things. You've always been more focused on career. Focused, career, as if the years I spent balancing Dad's bills, keeping his accounts from slipping into red, somehow didn't count as love. I typed a reply, Stop twisting the truth. Dad wanted it fair. I was there in my way, every week, every bill paid, every call answered. But the message sat unsent. I deleted it. No one in that chat wanted my truth. By afternoon, texts started rolling in from mutual friends. Hey, just checking, is it true you're fighting your family over the will? Another said, Amanda told us you're planning to sue. That doesn't sound like you. It didn't sound like me because it wasn't me, yet. But they were already painting the picture before I had a brush in my hand. That evening, I stopped by the grocery store. The cashier, a woman who used to babysit me, leaned across the counter. Heard about the inheritance mess. Tough spot, huh? She said it with pity, but her eyes sparkled with gossip. I realized my private battle was now public entertainment. When I got home, the silence in my apartment was thick. I pulled Dad's envelope from my purse, tracing the shaky letters of my name. Keep what keeps you honest. My honesty was all I had left, but even that felt under siege. Amanda's voice echoed in my mind, sharp as broken glass. Rachel can accept a smaller portion, it's fair. Chris's sneer followed. What are you going to do, sue your own blood? I dropped my phone face down on the couch, unable to watch the notifications multiply. Alone in that dim living room, I felt smaller than I had in years. The isolation wasn't just physical, it was engineered. They wanted me cornered, shamed into surrender. But instead of surrender, something else stirred. Not anger exactly, something colder, steadier. I opened my laptop, pulled up my bank accounts, Dad's old records, every file I'd saved when I helped him manage bills. I started combing through them like an auditor on a deadline. If they wanted me to disappear from Dad's legacy, they were about to learn I don't vanish. Before I shut the laptop for the night, I whispered into the quiet, "You wanted this fight, Amanda. You're going to get it." If you're listening on Revenge Stories Women 25, don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment. Thank you. The next week, I drove back to Dad's neighborhood, a stretch of modest homes where everyone still waved at each other from porches. I wasn't there to reminisce. I was there to dig. Dad's office looked untouched. Leather chair, calculator, desk lamp tilted slightly to the left. But I knew better. The blue estate folder was gone, replaced by Amanda's carefully curated silence. Still, I sifted through drawers, filing cabinets, even the boxes stacked in the closet. Nothing. Defeat pressed on me until a knock rattled the screen door. I opened it to see Richard, our neighbor of 25 years. He held a manila folder under one arm and wore the same plaid cap Dad used to joke was glued to his head. "Rachel," he said, voice gravelly, "got a minute?" We sat at the kitchen table. He slid the folder across to me. Inside was a photocopy of a letter dated 6 months before Dad passed. His handwriting was shaky but unmistakable. "To my children, Amanda, Chris, and Rachel, I want everything divided equally. But above all, Rachel must keep the lake house. She has always cherished it the way I did. That place is her heart as much as mine." My throat closed. Richard continued softly. "Your dad gave me this copy in case there were disputes. He said he trusted me to keep it safe." Tears burned my eyes, but beneath them a new strength formed. I finally had proof, physical words straight from Dad, that contradicted Amanda's version of fair. Richard leaned back, folding his arms. "I've heard the talk going around. Amanda's been loud, but your father was clear with me. You were there in ways that didn't make the spotlight. He wanted you protected." I swallowed hard. "Would you be willing to stand by that if it came to it?" His gaze didn't flinch. "If they push you into a corner, I'll be there." Word traveled faster than I expected. By Sunday, people at church whispered as I walked past. "Rachel's got proof," one said. "Amanda's not telling the whole story," another murmured. My fight wasn't just mine anymore. It was spilling into pews, grocery aisles, and phone calls I wasn't part of. Amanda must have sensed the shift. On Monday she called, voice sugar-coated. "Rachel, I hear you've been stirring things up. Don't you think Dad would want peace?" I nearly laughed. "Peace doesn't come from hiding his wishes." Her tone hardened. "You're making this public. That's reckless." "You made it public first," I shot back. "Remember the group chat?" There was silence on the line, then a clipped, "Fine, do what you want, but don't say I didn't warn you." She hung up before I could answer. I looked down at the photocopied letter still on my desk. Dad's words were clear as math. Equal division. Rachel keeps the lake house. For the first time since the funeral, I felt less like a ghost in my own family story. I wasn't isolated anymore. I had Dad's voice, Richard's witness, and a growing ripple of neighbors who'd seen enough of Amanda's performance to doubt her. The proof was real. The question was whether I was ready to use it. Proof of Dad's wishes was one thing, but I still felt the ground shifting beneath me, like Amanda and Chris had a bigger move planned. And I was right. Tuesday afternoon, while combing through old folders I'd backed up on a flash drive, I found something odd. A scanned bank statement tucked between utility bills. The account name read Harrison Moore Living Trust, except Dad had never mentioned such a trust. The signature at the bottom, supposedly his, looked off, too smooth, too deliberate. My chest tightened. I logged into the bank's online portal using Dad's old credentials, praying they hadn't changed. Somehow they hadn't. What I saw made my stomach drop. Tens of thousands of dollars had been withdrawn in the past year. Not by Dad, by Amanda and Chris. Their names were on the joint account access, added just 6 months before he died. They'd been draining his retirement funds while preaching about sacrifice. Shock bled into fury. My father spent 40 years at an auto parts plant, hoarding every penny for security. Amanda and Chris had carved it up like it was play money. I printed the statements, highlighted the withdrawals, and circled the forged signature. My hands trembled, but not from fear, from clarity. That night, I called Mr. Harlow. Did Dad set up a living trust with Amanda and Chris? There was a pause. Not to my knowledge, he said carefully. If they did, it would require his notarized approval. Do you have documents? I have bank statements and signatures that look forged. His breath caught. Rachel, if that's true, it isn't just a family dispute, that's potential fraud. Fraud. The word hung in the room like a gavel. I thanked him, hung up, and sat at the kitchen table with the papers spread before me. The photocopied letter from Dad lay beside the statements, his shaky handwriting beside their forged version of it. One honest, one fake. My phone buzzed. A text from Amanda. We need to talk before Friday. Don't do anything stupid. Stupid? I almost laughed. Stupid was thinking I wouldn't notice missing funds. Stupid was assuming numbers wouldn't eventually tell their story. Chris called 10 minutes later, his voice hushed. Rach, listen. Amanda's intense, but she's doing this for the family. Don't make it messy. Messy? I snapped. You forged Dad's name and emptied his retirement. That's not messy, it's criminal. Silence, then a shaky, you don't understand. Amanda said it was legal. I hung up before rage could scorch the line. That night I didn't sleep. I sat by the window with city lights buzzing below and thought of Dad's letter. Keep what keeps you honest. He didn't raise me to bury truth under convenience. By dawn, the plan crystallized. I would walk into Friday's official reading of the will with everything. Dad's letter, Richard's testimony, the bank statements. I wouldn't scream. I wouldn't beg. I would let the truth strip Amanda and Chris bare. For years, I'd been the quiet one, the one who let Amanda lead and Chris excuse his failures. But not this time. This time I had the receipts. I tucked the papers into a folder marked pending audit. It was a small act of defiance using the language of my trade, but it felt right. This wasn't just family drama anymore. It was an audit of truth, overdue and unavoidable. If this were your family, what would you do? Drop your story and subscribe Revenge Stories Women 25. Friday morning, the law office smelled faintly of lemon polish and nerves. I walked in wearing a navy blazer, the same one I used for corporate audits, a folder tucked tight under my arm. Amanda was already seated at the long mahogany table, pearls at her throat, smile rehearsed. Chris slouched beside her in a wrinkled suit, eyes darting. Linda perched at the end like a fragile statue. Mr. Harlow stood near the head, shuffling papers. Let's begin, he said, voice formal. We're here for the reading of Mr. Moore's will. Amanda cut in smoothly. Before we start, I'd like to remind everyone that Dad expressed concerns about Rachel's absence in his final months. I set my folder on the table with a sharp thud. Funny, Dad expressed something very different to Richard Lewis. Amanda's smile faltered. What are you talking about? The conference room door opened. Richard stepped in, cap in hand, eyes steady. Mr. Harlow looked surprised but nodded when I said, He's here at my invitation. Richard cleared his throat. Your father gave me this months ago. He pulled the photocopy of Dad's letter from his coat pocket and placed it in front of the lawyer. The words were plain, undeniable. Equal division, Rachel keeps the lake house. Amanda's face drained of color. Chris shifted uncomfortably. Linda whispered, "Oh my God." I leaned forward. "That's strike one. Here's strike two." I slid the bank statements across the table. Neon yellow highlights glowed under the office lights. Withdrawals, dates, amounts. The forged signature circled in red. Mr. Harlow adjusted his glasses, scanning quickly. His brows knitted. "These transactions. Rachel, where did you get this?" Dad kept meticulous records. I had copies. These withdrawals started 6 months before he died. Look closely at the signature. Chris's hand twitched. Amanda shot him a look sharp enough to cut glass. "Forgery," Mr. Harlow muttered, "and unauthorized withdrawals from a retirement account. This is serious." Amanda tried to recover, her voice brittle. "Dad wanted us to use those funds for his care." "No," I snapped, my voice slicing through hers. "Dad's insurance covered most of his care. Those withdrawals paid for your mortgage, Amanda, and your Vegas trip, Chris. Don't shake your heads. I traced the payments." The room went still. Even the ticking wall clock seemed to pause. Mr. Harlow cleared his throat again. "If this is accurate, I'll need to alert the probate court. Forgery and misappropriation of assets can carry criminal consequences." Chris muttered, "Amanda said it was fine." "Shut up," Amanda hissed, her perfect mask cracking. I met her eyes, steady. "You've spent weeks smearing me as selfish, ungrateful, absent, but the truth is this. I was the only one Dad trusted with the numbers, and the numbers don't lie. You do." Her jaw clenched. "You destroy your own family's reputation just to win?" I sat back, calm. "I'm not destroying anything. I'm auditing the truth. You did the rest yourselves." Linda's voice trembled. "Amanda, is this true?" Amanda didn't answer. Chris buried his face in his hands. Mr. Harlow gathered the documents, his tone final. "The will stands as equal division among all three children. Furthermore, I'll be forwarding these statements to the court for investigation. Rachel, thank you for bringing them to my attention." Amanda's composure shattered. "You can't do this. You'll ruin us." I rose, closing my folder. "You ruined yourselves the moment you put your names where Dad's should have been. I'm done covering for you." As I walked toward the door, Amanda's voice followed, high and cracked. "You'll regret this, Rachel." I didn't turn back. "No, I'll finally sleep." The confrontation wasn't loud. No shouting match fit for gossip columns. It was colder, sharper, sealed with evidence no one could refute. The kind of blow that doesn't bruise skin. It crushes credibility. For the first time in weeks, the scales tipped in my favor. And they weren't budging back. The hallway outside Mr. Harlow's office smelled faintly of dust and lemon wax. I leaned against the wall, folder clutched tight, as Amanda and Chris shuffled out a few minutes later. Their faces were pale, eyes darting anywhere but me. Amanda broke first. "Rachel, please, if this goes public, if the court pursues fraud charges, Chris could lose everything." He didn't know better. I pushed him. Chris's voice cracked. I just signed what she told me. I swear, Rach, I didn't think it would matter. Dad was already sick." The audacity nearly choked me. "Didn't think it would matter? You drained his savings, Chris. Money he worked 40 years to build. You spent it like it was casino chips." He wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. "I messed up. Please don't let them press charges. We're still family." That word again. Family. It used to mean Sunday dinners and Dad's laugh echoing across the yard. Now it felt like a weapon they only pulled out when cornered. Amanda stepped closer, her tone desperate. "We can fix this. We'll sign over the lake house. Make sure you get everything Dad wanted. Just don't ruin us." I looked at her, really looked. Polished suit, perfect hair, eyes that once bullied me into silence when we were kids. For the first time, I saw fear in them. "I'm not here to ruin you," I said, voice calm. "But I won't bury Dad's truth to protect your lies. The lawyer has the documents now. The investigation is out of my hands." Amanda flinched. "So that's it? You'll let strangers decide our family's fate?" I shook my head. "No, you decided it the moment you forged his name." Silence stretched between us, heavy and unfixable. Chris whispered, "Can you at least forgive us?" Forgive. The word felt like ashes in my mouth. Forgiveness isn't covering up crimes. It isn't pretending this didn't happen. I can't forgive you. Not now. Maybe not ever. But I won't hate you either. Hate would keep me tied to you. I want to be free. Their shoulders slumped. Amanda turned away, muttering something I couldn't catch. Chris just stood there, small and broken, as if he finally saw the cost of following his sister's lead. I left them in that hallway, two siblings staring at the floor, realizing the foundation they'd built their schemes on had collapsed. Closure didn't come from reconciliation. It came from choosing myself over the weight of their guilt. 2 weeks later, I stood on the porch of the lake house, keys jingling in my hand. The wood siding was weathered, paint peeling in places, but it smelled like cedar and memory. This was the place Dad wanted me to keep, the one piece of home that wasn't negotiable. Inside, dust sheets covered the furniture, and the air was cool and still. I walked from room to room, fingertips grazing picture frames, chipped tables, the window ledge where Dad used to rest his coffee mug every sunrise. For the first time since the funeral, I didn't feel like an intruder in my own story. I unpacked slowly, clothes in the closet, books on the shelves, laptop on the kitchen table. It wasn't about moving in quickly, it was about claiming space I had been told I didn't deserve. On Saturday, Richard came by with a bag of groceries and a smile. "Your dad would be glad to see you here," he said, setting the bag on the counter. "He always said you were the one who saw this place for what it was, peace, not property." I swallowed a lump in my throat. "Thank you for keeping his word safe when no one else would." He tipped his cap. "Truth has a way of finding daylight, Rachel. You just had to open the window." After he left, I sat on the porch swing with a notebook. I wrote down everything I had learned in the past month. Betrayal hides behind polite smiles. Money exposes loyalties. Silence is permission. Family doesn't excuse fraud. The sun dipped low, painting the lake in copper light. I realized I wasn't angry anymore. Not at Amanda, not at Chris, not even at Linda for standing by quietly. I wasn't forgiving them either. I was simply stepping outside the shadow of their choices. That night, I lit a small fire in the hearth and opened Dad's letter one more time. "Keep what keeps you honest." I whispered, "I will, Dad. I promise." The crackle of the fire was my only answer, but it was enough. Over the next months, I rebuilt. I joined a yoga class in town, started cooking meals for myself instead of eating takeout at my desk, even picked up photography, capturing the lake at dawn, the herons in flight, the reflection of autumn leaves on still water. Life wasn't loud, but it was mine. Amanda and Chris stopped calling. Word reached me through cousins that the investigation was ongoing, that Amanda had stepped down from her firm quietly, that Chris was scrambling to pay back debts. I didn't rejoice, I didn't mourn. I simply noted it as the natural conclusion of choices they had made. For the first time in years, I woke each morning without the weight of someone else's expectations pressing on my chest. I wasn't the absent daughter or the selfish sister. I was Rachel Moore, survivor of betrayal, keeper of the truth, and owner of her own future. Standing by the lake one crisp morning, I felt the cold air sting my cheeks. My reflection stared back, steadier than ever. "I choose me," I said out loud, letting the words drift across the water, and for the first time I believed them. "I choose me. Tell me what you do. Drop your story and subscribe Revenge Stories Women 25.